Everybody, happy Friday evening. Chad Crilly here with you, beginning coverage shortly on a historic winter storm that you probably already know about by now that is taking place and developing here across parts of the Southern Plains. It's going to be spreading eastward through much of the country over the next 48 hours or so, and it's going to be bringing a whole lot of wintry precip. We're talking about snow, ice, sleet, freezing rain, the whole 9 yards is on the way, and it's already started. Today was sort of the appetizer round. This afternoon, we started to pick up on a little bit of wintry precip across parts of the Texas Panhandle, and now things are really starting to get going. So as we wait for a couple more folks to join the stream, we will jump on. Winter weather coverage is a little bit different than severe weather coverage. It's more of a walk than a race, so to speak. You can kind of take your time a little bit more, especially when the winter weather begins. There's not much you can do other than kind of watch the snow fall and the ice accumulate and the accretion take place. So we'll wait. Right now, most of the winter weather is out across Oklahoma and then parts of West Texas, moving out of the Texas Panhandle. And Oklahoma is a spot, at least central Oklahoma, that is getting quite a bit of snow. So south of there is where we're seeing a little bit more of the wintry mix, likely some freezing rain and some sleet that's taking place. The Storm Prediction Center out in Norman, Oklahoma, they have a couple of mesoscale discussions. Yes, those are not just for severe weather. They are also used for winter weather as well, which is pretty cool. So we'll talk about that. And then obviously we're going to talk about what's happening right now, what's going to be taking place for the rest of the night tonight, looking ahead to tomorrow and Sunday as well, when the system starts to move into the northeast, which is going to bring a lot of snow to some pretty big cities. Boston actually looks like they may get hit the hardest. In fact, talking about 20-25 inches of snow there, which even for a place like Boston is a pretty big deal. So again, just waiting a couple more minutes for everybody to jump on, and then we'll get going and we'll start talking about this historic winter storm. The preparations have been underway across multiple states of emergency, across dozens of states. Governors are prepared. The one sort of saving grace with this storm is it's taking place on a weekend, right? It's not happening during the middle of the week. And then also there has been a lot of lead time and preparation for this system. I mean, there has just been so much information out there, all over social media plastered. Some of it good, some of it is pretty bad, and some of it is right in the middle with a little bit of okay information as well. And obviously with a system as complex as this one, it is tough to forecast. It's not the easiest thing to do in the whole world. All right, so looks like we have about 72 of you watching now, so we'll kind of jump into what's taking place at the moment, where the winter weather is, do some nowcasting, talk about what's to come tonight and into the next 24 hours, and then we'll do a big picture as far as what's to come, looking a little bit later on as the system moves into the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. What I've done is I've overlaid the temperatures here as well, the surface temperatures on top of the radar. And it's important because those surface temperatures are going to be key to what precip type is going to be falling. Obviously, as we look at the radar presentation this evening, we have very heavy amounts of snow, moderate to at times heavy amounts of snow taking place in central Oklahoma as this first wave of moisture sort of moves through. By the way, with all the information that's been out there, maybe you heard, maybe you haven't, if you live in the central and southern plains, particularly parts of southwest Missouri into Oklahoma, central to North Texas, there's going to be two waves of winter weather. The first one taking place right now into tomorrow morning, and then there's going to be a little lull in the activity, and then another round of winter weather that's going to be moving in late tomorrow night and on into Sunday morning as this whole system kind of kicks east. But regardless, where's the heavy snow right now? Well, I've circled it for you there in yellow. It's out across parts of central, especially into southern Oklahoma. And one thing that is sort of important to mention when we talk about winter weather, right? It's often just north of where you have the freezing rain and snow line that you end up with the heavier bursts of snow. So take, for example, right now, a spot like Sulphur, Oklahoma, likely dealing with a mix of some freezing rain and sleet, and then you go just north of there, and you have probably some moderate to heavy snow that's taking place from Norman south to Purcell, there out across McAllister, and eastward into eastern Oklahoma. But look at the surface temperatures again here in central Oklahoma, and especially north of there. We've had an Arctic front that has been crashing in, and so that's why sort of during the lead up to this event, we've talked about, hey, yeah, we think where we have that really cold air in place from this Arctic high pressure that is driving in the cold air from the north, we're going to have all snow, and that's exactly the case. Check it out. Right now, 17 degrees just north of Oklahoma City. It's 19 degrees in Tulsa. So obviously, you have the moisture in place and the precipitation type that's falling. There is snow. So one sort of area of moderate to at times probably heavy snow taking place across central down into southern Oklahoma. As we work our way northward into parts of central Kansas, down into southwest Missouri, Kansas City metro area. Temperatures obviously very cold, single digits, anywhere from about 1 to 8 degrees or so. Probably going to take a little bit more time, a little bit more saturation to get some of the snow to start actually sticking and falling to the ground. A process note of Virga may be taking place here, so not quite sold on the idea that at least in central Kansas down into southwest Missouri, that we're dealing with snow that is at least reaching the ground, but obviously radar right now is picking up on that. But where's the actually very interesting weather, the battleground, right, between the snow that we talked about in central Oklahoma and then obviously some of the mixed precip? Where's that taking place? Well, it's out here across southern Oklahoma, across parts of far north Texas and into parts of western Texas as well. And check out why. Again, surface temperature super important here. We have temperatures that are running anywhere from about 30 to 32 degrees in Sherman, of course, which is in North Texas. Dallas-Fort Worth is still in the mid-30s. That's why some of the precip that's coming down right now is obviously all in the form of rain. But where you have these temperatures, these surface temperatures that are hovering at or just a little bit below freezing, and the column of air above the surface, maybe you have surface temperatures that are below freezing and that column of air just above the surface is a little bit warmer. More than likely, that's where we're dealing with some of the mixed precip taking place. And a spot like Wichita Falls, oh boy, right now is in the thick of it likely, with pockets of likely heavy sleet, freezing rain, ice accretion that's taking place, and then you kind of work your way eastward. A spot here like Gainesville, Texas, kind of right on the edge. Look at your temperature, 30 degrees. So that battleground taking place between a cold rain and then some sleet and freezing rain that's likely ongoing. I want to read you the mesoscale discussion, or the winter mesoscale discussion, real quickly. This is from, again, the Storm Prediction Center out in Norman, Oklahoma. They're saying freezing rain and sleet accumulations are beginning across portions of southern Oklahoma, which we just talked about why, right? We have the battleground between temperatures that are hovering right at 30 to about 35 degrees, and it's expected to spread east over the next several hours across northern, northeast Texas and southern Arkansas. Precipitation rates, freezing rain rates up to 0.5 of an inch per hour appear likely. along the Red River and in southern Arkansas, which is a pretty big deal. So obviously this is the area that they're talking about, this sort of battleground here across southern Oklahoma and far north Texas, north of Dallas, north of Frisco, where we're dealing with a mixed bag of precip. But again, the problem is when you have those temperatures that are hovering right at, 30, 35 degrees, we're starting to see a little bit more in the way of freezing rain and then also some sleet that's taking place. And again, this continues to spread eastward as well. So now as we work our way into Arkansas, spots like Little Rock, your temperatures are in the upper 20s. You're starting to see your first round of precipitation. And it is falling more than likely as snow, right? We have temperatures that are below the freezing mark. South of there, though, south of Little Rock, get into a spot like Pine Bluff, Arkadelphia, you have temperatures running, again, upper 20s to right around 30 degrees. There's a 30-degree reading right there. And so that's where we talk about the concern for some of the high freezing rain rates. So obviously, periods of moderate to heavy freezing rain ongoing right now from Murfreesboro eastward and Arkadelphia and the Arkansas side here. Also likely dealing with some pockets of freezing rain and sleet in Dumas, Arkansas, not Texas. So you can see why the Storm Prediction Center has this mesoscale discussion out, really highlighting far north Texas, southern Oklahoma, and into parts of central and western Arkansas for the potential, particularly here over the next couple of hours, of mixed precip, but really mainly in the form of freezing rain. We know north of there, we talked about it, in central Oklahoma right now, you're dealing all with snow. Temperatures there here, Oklahoma City, hovering about 17, 18, 19 degrees. So the precipitation that's falling is all snow. By the way, as we widen out the view, show you the bigger picture, this is round number 1 here of wintry precip that we're going to be dealing with over the next couple of days across the central and to southern plains. So here's round number 1. It's moving through central to southern Oklahoma, parts of northern Texas, into western Texas. Abilene still dealing with freezing rain and sleet. It'll head east overnight tonight, moving to western Mississippi, parts of West Tennessee, the rest of Missouri likely going to be dealing with this first round. And then we have another round number 2, that's going to be moving in late tomorrow night and into Sunday morning, and we'll talk more about that in just a second. But obviously, big picture right now shows you where the snow is. That's going to be in the blue. It's across central down into southern Oklahoma. We have temperatures there that are in the teens. North of there, across Kansas, you have temperatures running about 2 below to 5 above. Very cold, obviously. Precipitation may be falling in the form of snow. However, it, at least for now, may not necessarily be reaching the ground just yet, and it is light if it's coming down. By the way, brand new mesoscale winter discussion here out from the Storm Prediction Center just a moment ago that just popped up on our screen, so let's read it to you. Notice that blue circle. This includes Oklahoma City, Norman, Muskogee, and Eufaula here, and much of central and eastern Oklahoma. This is straight from the Storm Prediction Center. And again, they're saying moderate to heavy snow to increase in coverage through this evening with rates of 1 inch per hour or more. Snowfalls increase in coverage across portions of central southern Oklahoma over the last hour or so. That's what I just mentioned to you. So obviously you have periods of moderate to heavy snow ongoing here in central southern Oklahoma. That's going to be spreading east over the next couple of hours, working into western, northwestern Arkansas, eventually to southwest Missouri as well. And then south of there, you have your battleground where we have temperatures that are running in the upper 20s to low 30s. That's where you're running into a little bit more of the mixed precip, the freezing rain that's taking place right now. Wichita Falls, eastward, Ardmore, Oklahoma, across northeast Texas. Dallas-Fort Worth, by the way, again, it's all rain that's coming down, likely some drizzle. Rain rates aren't all that high at the moment. You have temperatures that are in the mid-30s. It's a cold rain at that. Further south of there, here's Austin, for example. Temperatures are in the mid-50s, so likely just dealing with rain, but check this out. There is a flash flood discussion for the hill country of Texas. Spots like Kerrville, San Marcos, New Braunfels, San Antonio, Austin included in on the potential of heavy rain, right? That's something that hasn't been mentioned a lot with this system is yes, there's going to be the heavy rain threat over the next couple of hours here across parts of central Texas into the hill country of Texas. But obviously, as far as the wintry weather is concerned at the moment, you see it moving through central into eastern Oklahoma, those darker blue colors indicating where we have the heavier snow. That'll push east here over the next couple of hours into western Arkansas. More of the same across northern into western Texas, Wichita Falls, which is, of course, the freezing rain that's taking place, and central into southern Arkansas. Pine Bluff, for example, also in the battleground with temperatures in the upper 20s to low 30s with freezing rain that's likely ongoing. So there's the wide view. You can see round number one across the southern plains taking place. Let's for a second go ahead and turn off the radar. And what I want to do is kind of show you I'm also going to turn off our surface temperatures as well. And I want to show you a bigger picture for a second. Obviously, we have a lot in the way of winter storm warnings, ice storm warnings in place across the center of the country, into the eastern half of the country, into the Northeast as well. A really handy tool is called the Winter Storm Severity Index, and this is something that maybe you heard of, perhaps you haven't, but it is really nice because when you deal with a system as complex and as powerful as this one, it is multifaceted. And by the way, information overload all over social media about this one because so much real estate is being covered, right? Most of the country is being impacted by this storm system. So a nice, easy way to kind of summarize how bad will the impacts be in my location is by looking at a tool called the Winter Storm Severity Index Scale. And this is not taking into account precipitation type, precipitation rates, totals, any of that. We're not looking at watches, warnings. All we're doing is we're looking at this storm system as a whole now through Sunday, and we're going on a scale from 1 through 5. And 1 being the low end, minimal impacts, and then 5 obviously being the higher end where we can expect some of those extreme impacts. So take a look at a couple of spots that sort of pop up. If you live across the central into southern plains, obviously spots like Oklahoma City, where we have snow coming down right now, that is in that red zone, which by the way, that's a risk level 4 out of 5, if you want to call it, a moderate risk zone, so to speak, in terms of hazards, or a severity index. A spot like Dallas is underneath a risk level 3 out of 5. Again, in the severity index scale, just going 1 through 5 as to how bad will this storm be in my location. How about further east? Well, you start running into more problems as you look at particularly central into northern Mississippi. I mean, look at this. That is something you don't see every single day, and that is an extreme risk. That's a 5 out of 5 on the Winter Storm Severity Index scale across parts of central to northern Mississippi, shaded in purple. And the reason why is we think this is going to be one spot that deals with some really major and significant ice accumulations over the next day to day and a half, unfortunately. Crippling ice storm at that likely to take place. Of course, we're not done looking at the rest of the country yet. As we kind of track northeast here into the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast, you can see spots like Washington, D.C. with this storm system. Again, as we look at the system as a whole, how bad will it be where I live on a scale of 1 to 5? Spots like Washington, D.C., 4 out of 5. New York City, 4 out of 5. Boston, 4 out of 5. But again, this is just sort of a nice, simple way of looking at it at a big picture. We're not looking at accumulations, amounts, precipitation types. We're not looking at watches and warnings. All we're doing right now is looking at the Winter Storm Severity Index scale and going 1 through 5. How bad will this storm system be where I live? And again, where you start seeing some of those red colors, that's a 4 out of 5. And then the 5 out of 5, only spots that I can find are here across central to northern Mississippi, And then also across parts of extreme western South Carolina, the higher terrain here, the Appalachian Mountains, could be also dealing with a crippling ice storm at that. So that's sort of one big picture way that we can look at this storm system. The next thing that we can do, obviously, and this is going to be kind of a lot, is by turning on our... First of all, we'll turn off the Winter Storm Severity Index, and then we'll turn on our plain old watches and warnings, and you're going to see a ton here, so don't be overwhelmed, but this is what we have, and it's going to take a second for it to populate just because there's so many winter storm watches and warnings that are in place across a very big part of the country right now. And here you go. So you have anywhere that you see shaded in pink, that is a winter storm warning. Anywhere that you see shaded in purple, that is going to be an ice storm warning. And notice how we have ice storm warnings now across much of eastern Texas, central into northern parts of Louisiana, and then obviously into central and northern Mississippi, where we expect a crippling ice storm. The Atlanta metro also underneath an ice storm warning at this point. Asheville, North Carolina. Columbia, South Carolina underneath a ice storm warning. So big deal for sure when it comes to all of the watches and the warnings that we have in place and ongoing right now, because there are a lot of them, unfortunately. So you can see, again, a lot of watches, a lot of warnings out there right now across a good part of the country. And notice how yesterday at this time, we were talking about winter storm watches across the Northeast. I want to mention that those have been now upgraded to winter storm warnings. That includes all of the Mid-Atlantic, and it includes almost all of the Northeast. So obviously, Washington, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Boston, underneath a winter storm warning now. Anywhere that you see shaded in pink, those are winter storm warnings. How about the forecast itself? And we'll go through this together, and I'll show you a couple of different things that I've been looking at. We're going to turn off the alerts there for just a second, and we'll go over to a peek at what to expect here as we look at we'll go copy the next little bit. So all right, here we go. This is tonight. And right now we're just focusing in on the central and southern plains. So this is not current radar. This is a look at what is to come, right? So we're looking first at overnight tonight, and notice the spots where we have the heavy snow right now, which is across central and eastern Oklahoma. That continues now through the next several hours through much of tonight. Snowfall rates that are going to be taking place an inch or more per hour. And then notice where we have the battleground zone here across northern into northeast Texas, and then also into central Arkansas. So the rest of tonight into early tomorrow morning is when we continue to deal with some of these locations that are going to be dealing with ice and sleet, central into southern Arkansas, the rest of tonight through tomorrow morning, extreme northern, not including the Dallas-Fort Worth area, into northeast Texas, dealing with sleet, some freezing rain overnight tonight, and then through tomorrow morning. And a lot of that really continues here into central Arkansas through much of tomorrow morning. Now, we are expecting sort of a lull across the central and the southern plains late tonight before another round, or excuse me, tomorrow, before another round moves in tomorrow night and into Sunday morning. So tomorrow afternoon, things may actually be relatively quiet here across central Oklahoma, across parts of central to north Texas, sort of a relative lull in the activity tomorrow afternoon. And then tomorrow night into Sunday morning, here comes round number 2. And with this one, again, a lot of the same spots that are seeing snow right now, central Oklahoma southward, likely will continue to see snow. But look who is finally getting in on some of the wintry precipitation type with sleet and also freezing rain, particularly tomorrow night into Sunday morning. It's much of central Texas, Austin, San Antonio, and the Dallas-Fort Worth area especially will be impacted more so with round number 2. Again, round number 2 here across the central and southern plains taking place late tomorrow night and through Sunday morning. More in the way of freezing rain and sleet concerns from central to northern Texas, Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, all going to be under the gun, of course, for the wintry precip, especially with that second round tomorrow night and then into Sunday morning. Central Oklahoma continues to see a lot more in the way of snow, and then things finally wrap up across the central and southern plains as we work our way into late Sunday afternoon and through Monday morning. Things will dry out, but also stay extremely bitterly cold as well. So far, again, if you've joined the stream, if you're just watching what we've done, we've looked at where it's snowing right now, where we have freezing rain and sleet taking place right now. We've also peeked at the Winter Storm Severity Index because this storm is so expansive. It's impossible to cover every single spot at once. So we just did a broad brush. How bad will the storm be in your region? And then we also took a peek here at the forecast to come through the next couple of days with the 2 distinct rounds across the southern plains. And the next thing that we're going to do, and I'm going to also just real quickly take a peek back over at the TikTok monitoring center over here. Make sure that I am still streaming. The stream is good. The audio is good. If you have any issues or you start seeing any issues in terms of the stream quality itself, let me know. And I will be sure to get it fixed and get it updated. So there's a lot of you watching right now, and I appreciate it. And very much thank you for watching. I know that you have a lot of choices when it comes to your winter weather coverage tonight. I just want to let you know my plan, what we're going to do sort of here through the rest of the stream. And that is, we're going to talk about where it's snowing right now, where we have the winter weather right now, and then we're going to go region by region, and we're also going to start to break down amounts a little bit more as well as we talk about this powerful, expansive, and blockbuster storm system. So if I'm not talking about where you live right now, just keep in mind, I have a whole country to cover here, and so we're going to get to it. One area I want to focus in, though, especially in on right now, is across parts of the Deep South and especially Mississippi, because this is going to be one spot that I think, obviously this storm system is wide-reaching, it's expansive, it's going to be covering a lot of the country, but when we kind of talk about a spot that is more than likely going to be impacted the most, I think that central into northern Mississippi with this system may be it. And the reason being is just because of the crippling ice storm that's going to be impacting this part of the country. So let's kind of look together at the forecast specifically for central to northern Mississippi. This will also cover parts of eastern Arkansas. It'll cover parts of eastern Louisiana as well. But I just want to go through this with you because, again, so much of the country is going to be impacted by this storm. But I think one spot that is probably going to be hit the hardest is going to be central into northern Mississippi. And that really is, again, just because of, how much ice, unfortunately, is expected there. And by the way, I'm just cleaning up the screen a little bit so everybody can see what we're looking at. All right, so central, northern Mississippi, northwest Mississippi underneath an ice storm warning right now. The precipitation is still to your west, which is out across parts of Texas and Oklahoma, but I want to take you through the forecast through the next couple of hours. So this is Saturday at 3 a.m. So what are we, 9:40 now here on a Friday night? By around early tomorrow morning, so this is now 3 a.m., and again, you start to see the first round of wintry precip that's going to start to move into northern and northwest Mississippi. So here's Greenville. So for some perspective, notice where you started to see the pink early Saturday morning. This is pre-dawn Saturday morning. So really late tonight is when we start to see the first round of icy weather move in, and unfortunately I think the majority of this is going to be freezing rain. And by the way, if you haven't heard me talk about it yet, the weather setup here across parts of the South and this battleground area where we're dealing with the mixed precip versus the snow is all thanks to a clash of Arctic air that's coming in from the north. The Arctic air now has overspread a lot of the Midwest. And then mild air, a warm nose to the south across parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. You have those two air masses that are clashing together and also a storm system moving through. Unfortunately, that is a big time recipe when it comes to the potential for ice and ice accretion. So back to our forecast. And again, right now, we're just looking at parts of the deep south. This is eastern Arkansas that we're looking at, parts of Louisiana, and particularly central to northern Mississippi. And the reason we're focusing in here on this zone so heavily is because this is going to be one spot in the country with this cross-country storm system that's going to be impacted so heavily. So here's the timeline. Late tonight, early tomorrow morning, here's 4 a.m. We start to see the first signs of wintry precipitation moving in across northern Mississippi. This is mainly Greenville north. However, that's kind of just the start of it, because by early tomorrow morning, after the sun rises, 7, 8, 9 a.m., we're in the thick of it across most of central through northern Mississippi. So we're talking Tupelo, Greenville. Obviously, Arkansas continues to deal with a lot of this, but, check out how much freezing rain we have ongoing for several hours straight. So remember, our freezing rain starts tonight across eastern Arkansas, central to northern Mississippi, about 3, 4 a.m. It continues into 6, 7, 8, 9 a.m. on Saturday morning. You want to be hunkered down. You don't need me to give you advice, but you don't want to be going outside during this time. But as we start to see the ice accumulate, that ice accretion taking place here across northern Mississippi, northwest Mississippi, is when we're going to start to deal with some of the power lines coming down, those trees snapping, unfortunately. So by 9 a.m., think about it. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 6 hours already that we've been in the thick of it with freezing rain across central to northern Mississippi. That's just a start as multiple rounds of freezing rain continue into Saturday afternoon through Saturday evening. Look at some of the color and reflectivity returns near Greenville, points east, the dark pink colors. That's where we could be talking about freezing rain rates that are 1/2 inch or more per hour. And again, this is a 12-hour duration so far. Again, we're not done with the forecast across northern Mississippi. 12 hours, 3 a.m. to 3 p.m., that northern Mississippi has been dealing with freezing rain, and that freezing rain continues past that 12-hour mark. So here's 4, 5, 6, 7 p.m. tomorrow night. This is now almost 24 hours straight across northern Mississippi, even by 11 p.m. on Saturday night into early Sunday morning, that we've been dealing with periods of freezing rain, and heavy freezing rain at that. So after about 12 hours, you're going to be dealing with the major power lines coming down, unfortunately, the trees snapping here across central northern Mississippi, Greenville. And again, this also includes eastern Arkansas as well. And unfortunately, this is going to be about a 24-hour duration event, if not more. Here's Sunday, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 a.m. Still almost 48 hours straight of straight ice coming down across central to northern Mississippi. Finally, by Sunday morning, with this sort of second round that moves in, spots like Jackson will start to see a little bit of sleet taking place. But again, northern Mississippi, unfortunately, the hot zone for about 48 hours of freezing rain that could be falling straight. Now, it's going to come down heavy at times, it'll come down light at times, but bottom line, this is why when we looked at that winter storm severity index and we had the 5 out of 5 in the extreme impact zone, there was so much concern. And it is because of the potential of almost 48 hours straight, starting late tonight across central to northern, northwest Mississippi, eastern Arkansas, for that freezing rain to start to come down and continuing all the way through Sunday, midday or so, when things finally start to move out, quiet down. But by that point, the damage will have been done. So let's talk for a second about total freezing rain or ice accumulations here across a part of the country that is going to be hit very hard by this storm system with almost 48 hours straight, again, as I mentioned, of ice that may be coming down across central to northern Mississippi. Check it out. This is a potential projection between now and Sunday evening, and some very scary amounts. When you consider the fact that it takes about 1/10 of an inch or so of ice to cause problems, it really kind of puts into perspective just how serious the icing event could be from central into eastern Arkansas, and particularly across northern and northwest Mississippi. A spot like Greenville, Mississippi, could be dealing with almost 1.5 inches of ice between now and Sunday. It's so much to think about, right? That is a ton of ice. It's going to put so much weight on the power lines, so much weight on the trees. But it isn't just a spot like Greenville where you have, almost 1.5 inches of ice that may come down. Look at Tupelo, almost 1 inch of ice between now and Sunday. Freezing rain that's taking place. That's crippling. It's unfortunately, for a lot of folks, going to be devastating, trying to get the power to come back on, trying to get the cleanup to take place. Also, think about how many pine trees are in this area. There are just so many. And then further south, as you get to central southern Mississippi, a spot like Jackson, maybe not in the freezing rain zone for quite as long, but still dealing with over 1/2 inch of freezing rain is going to cause some problems. So Mississippi is going to be one of those spots that, when we look back at this system, is probably hit the hardest, just due to the fact that there is so much concern for freezing rain. I want to take you further east for a second, and I want to talk about particularly Atlanta, because Atlanta now is underneath an ice storm warning. And so the forecast, as we kind of look ahead to beyond tonight and beyond early tomorrow morning, our attention starts to focus to what's going to be happening across the southeast, and particularly central into northern Georgia. So an ice storm warning is now in effect for Atlanta and points northward. Let me show you why. Let's go through this forecast together. We're going to be looking here at the European run, and this is from the 18Z, so the latest run, the HRRR, the high resolution rapid refresh. Some of those smaller scale models not going out quite as far yet to give us a full scale run, but let me walk you through this. If you live in a spot like Atlanta, Rome, northern Georgia, Columbia, Greenville, also under the gun for significant ice accumulations. And again, remember, the reason why we're not dealing with snow, and I saw a tweet from the National Weather Service out in Atlanta earlier today, and they were kind of mentioning this is not going to be a snowstorm for Atlanta. Atlanta's seen snowstorms before. I mean, we've seen pictures on social media in the past of 1 inch of snow on the ground in Atlanta and kind of putting traffic to a standstill. This is going to be an ice storm. So not a winter wonderland, unfortunately, but a big deal when it comes to ice. So here's the forecast for Atlanta and much of northern Georgia, and you're going to see why in just a second, that there is an ice storm warning in place. So rest of tonight through Saturday morning, things are quiet. Things are mainly dry. There could be some light wintry weather taking place across parts of southern Tennessee, but as far as the Atlanta metro is concerned, northern Georgia is concerned, we're quiet. Look at what happens, though, as we approach tomorrow night. So this is now past about 8 p.m. on Saturday night. It's probably going to be a good idea to be off the roadways across central to northern Georgia, because we start to see the potential for wintry weather creeping in. And by the way, one thing I'll mention, there may be periods here in some of these battleground zones where we're dealing with the clashing of the air masses, where temperatures are hovering right at, 28 to 32. where we kind of come in and out of the rain a little bit. And then after that, we bounce back to some sleet and then maybe a little freezing rain and then back to rain. That's just kind of the name of the game when you have temperatures that run in the upper 20s to low 30s. But regardless, so let me show you what to expect as we kind of continue to go through our forecast here across the southeast. We look at why the Atlanta metro is underneath an ice storm warning. So this is tomorrow night at about 10 o'clock. Notice where we're starting to see the transition taking place to likely some rain and then freezing rain across northern Georgia. That's just the start of it, unfortunately, because by Sunday morning, here's 4 a.m., early Sunday morning. Again, good news, saving grace with this system. It's the weekend. Hopefully people are home, heating warnings, don't have to go out to work. There are going to be some people like emergency responders, folks who work in broadcast, National Weather Service, EMS, all those people, they do have to brave this kind of weather and be out on the roadways. But the other thing that was being talked about a lot across a large part of the country, what emergency responders are going to end up doing is just shutting down the interstates completely to prevent people from traveling, right? We don't want a repeat of what we saw back during the 2021 winter storm in a place like Dallas with those horrific images of cars just piling up into each other. We heard in Texas earlier today, Governor Greg Abbott speaking about how they're just going to shut down some of the major interstates and the roadways except for essential workers to prevent scenes like that. But back to our forecast for central to northern Georgia, and again, why Atlanta today was upgraded to an ice storm warning. Here we go. Sunday morning at 4 a.m., we're talking about periods of freezing rain likely taking place from Atlanta east through Athens. That's not it. Look at the higher terrain of the Carolinas, Appalachian Mountains, Greenville, Rock Hill, Fayetteville, all dealing with periods of light to at times moderate ice. Northeast Georgia really in the thick of it early Sunday morning with that freezing rain coming down. And it continues Sunday 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2 a.m., 2 p.m. The potential for winter weather will continue. Now, eventually, here across central and northern Georgia, there will be a warm nose that's going to try to sneak in a little bit by Sunday afternoon, and believe it or not, there could be a rather potent line of showers and thunderstorms that work through central and northern Georgia with some gusty winds, 40 to 50 miles per hour, the possibility of maybe a low-end severe thunderstorm warning or two. Storm Prediction Center are already mentioning that there is going to be a severe component to this system, believe it or not. But again, the good news is at least we're out of the winter weather by Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. In Atlanta, that warm nose starts to creep up and temperatures will start to increase a little bit more as well. How much ice are we talking about in parts of northern Georgia into western parts of South Carolina? Let's take a peek and show you the forecast of total ice. And keep in mind, again, and I often say this, it only takes about 1/10 of an inch or so of ice to cause major problems, particularly when we say that on the roadways. It takes a little bit more than that to cause power outages. But regardless, here we go into Monday, between now and Monday, Sunday afternoon, let's say, when we know the winter weather will end here across northern Georgia, western parts of South Carolina. You have ice accretion on the ground, ice totals of almost 1/4 of an inch or so in a spot like Atlanta. You can likely say that it's a pretty good bet across northern and northeastern Georgia. There could be over 1 inch of ice that may take place. A spot like Greenville, South Carolina may be dealing with 1/2 of an inch of ice or so, or excuse me, 1/4 of an inch of ice or so. So that is a lot of ice that's going to be, again, putting weight on the power lines, putting weight on the trees in highly wooded areas. And just to mention, just a reminder that it doesn't necessarily take, of course, what we're going to be getting in western and parts of northern Mississippi with 1.5 inches of ice to cause big impacts. We have ice storm warnings from Atlanta northward because, yes, we're talking about anywhere from 1/4 of an inch up to 1 inch of an ice, and that extends into parts of western South Carolina as well. So a lot of ice on the way for them. Let's give everybody an update on what's taking place right now. We talked about the forecast here for parts of the South, Mississippi, Alabama, parts of Georgia, South Carolina, but I want to get back over to actually what's happening right now, and I will show you what the radar looks like. And it is getting busy, and you know that the radar is getting busy when it starts to look kind of like a rainbow. So a couple of spots that we're watching particularly closely here. And again, I want to emphasize that we're expecting 2 rounds of winter weather in spots like Texas and Oklahoma. The first round is right now. This will be the less intense of the 2 rounds. And then another round expected to move in late tomorrow night and then on into Sunday morning. But for the time being, we have periods of moderate to heavy snow that are now working through central Oklahoma, especially along and east of the I-35 corridor. So Tulsa is getting snow. Areas near Oklahoma City are getting heavy snow. East of Oklahoma City, obviously seeing heavy snow. Temperatures in this entire area are sitting well below freezing. We're talking teens, especially with the snow coming down. We're starting to see snow fill in a little bit more now across northwestern Arkansas, so Bentonville may be seeing some light snow. Fort Smith is obviously getting in on this first round of moderate snow. You can see some of those darker blue colors there. Further north, southwest Missouri, Joplin may be seeing a tiny bit of snow trying to come down. Again, I question whether or not it's reaching the ground. Sometimes we have to wait for the atmosphere to saturize a little bit to get the snow to reach the ground. Maybe a few flurries here from Kansas City points westward towards Salina. But really, the brunt of the winter weather is from central into eastern and southeastern Oklahoma. I mean, my goodness, look at McAllister, Oklahoma, likely talking about snowfall rates of 1 inch or more per hour with those very dark blue colors that you're seeing there. And this will continue to head east. So across northern Arkansas, spots like Mountain Home, Marshall, Mountain View, Conway may not be seeing the snow just yet, or if you are, you're seeing a couple of flurries. Look at what's out to your west. A lot of moderate to heavy snow now here across central into eastern Oklahoma. That'll be heading your way tonight. This whole area of winter weather is headed east. How about further south? Check out where we have the battleground zone here between rain, freezing rain, sleet, and probably not a lot of snow. But here west of DFW, Decatur, Texas, for example, Graham, Abilene, where you're seeing these dark pink colors, that's an indication of where we have some very high freezing rain rates. These continue to head, or that area of freezing rain will continue to head northeast. Now, one thing I'll caution is temperatures are still above freezing in Dallas, so it's going to take a little bit to get the precipitation type to actually turn over to snow, or rather to freezing rain. It will at some point eventually. We're just not quite there yet. So let me show you what our surface temperatures look like again for just a second. And by the way, I always like to talk big picture when we have a lot of folks watching. This is round number 1. Round number 1 across the central and the southern plains. Round number 2 going to be developing out here. That moves in late tonight into, or excuse me, late tomorrow night and into Sunday morning. There may be a little bit of a break in the wintry weather tomorrow, early afternoon or so, across central Oklahoma and into parts of southwest Missouri and southeast Kansas as well, before more winter weather moves in tomorrow night. And that second round could be a little bit more impactful. We have thunderstorms here developing across the hill country of Texas west of Austin, near Kerrville, with some high rainfall rates and the possibility of a little bit of flooding, not completely out of the question there either. So, you know, really significant activity taking place here in terms of just a major cross-country storm system. Okay, so surface temperatures. Obviously, where we have temperatures right now that are hovering in the teens to low 20s, which is across a good part of central Oklahoma, we have all snow falling. But that battleground zone where we have temperatures, even at the surface, by the way, at about 30 degrees here near Decatur, about 30 degrees near Weatherford. That's sort of where we're seeing the line taking place, or that battleground between plain old rain and freezing rain. And so far, at least in this corridor that I'm highlighting, it's been the freezing rain that's winning. And again, this whole area of freezing rain continuing to head towards the northeast over the next couple of hours, along with the very heavy amounts of snow from central and into parts of eastern Oklahoma. So a lot going on out there, and numerous watches and warnings across the whole country as this storm system kind of moves through. I think we should do a big picture now. We talked about some small scale locations. We've talked a lot about what's happening on the radar right now. We'll kind of reset as we are now at the top of the hour. It's 10 p.m. Central, and do a big picture, show you the whole country, what's to come, both in terms of where this storm system is headed, and then also accumulations, both with snow and then also with the potential of ice and freezing rain. And then after that, we'll kind of maybe zoom in a little bit more towards the northeast. Hopefully everybody's doing okay as you watch us live tonight as we cover a generational, potentially historic winter storm that continues to move through the country. There is a lot to talk about. All your comments coming in. Again, I want to thank each and every one of you for watching right now. We have so many of you in the stream, which I appreciate. I appreciate all the viewership. You know, as we kind of reset here, you talk about a storm like this, everybody at once, with a system that is so impactful and so powerful and is impacting so much of the country. And so what we're going to kind of do throughout the night tonight and into early tomorrow morning is we'll look at the country as a whole, right? We'll show you what's happening with the radar, and then we'll kind of look at the country as a whole, show you a broad picture, where the storm is, where it's going next, accumulations, and then we'll kind of go section by section, if you will, across the country. We'll talk about the Ohio Valley. We'll talk about the Northeast. Right now, as I kind of look through some of your questions, I'm going to try to maybe real quickly fire off a couple of answers. North Carolina, Alexis wants to know about, is going to be dealing likely with quite a bit of ice, especially across the western part of the state. Louisville is more than likely going to be dealing with quite a bit of snow. How about areas like eastern Tennessee, maybe dealing with a little freezing rain? Oklahoma City is getting buried right now, so I've heard and so we see on the radar. Houston, Texas. Houston may be dealing with, if anything, a little bit of freezing rain and bitterly cold temperatures. I know I haven't mentioned that yet, but some of the very cold air that is coming in with this system is going to be severe and life-threatening. You know, if we didn't have this big winter system that was sprawling across the country, this generational winter storm, the headline would be all about the cold, and the cold is quite bitter. All right, let's get into this. So let's talk about, what's to come here over the next couple of days, and we'll reset and show you a wide view of the entire country. So hopefully, as some of you watch, you will get a couple of your questions answered. And then if not, remember, stay tuned, stay on the stream, because we're going to go section by section across the country and look at each spot that's being impacted by this huge winter storm and talk about accumulations, timeline, what to expect, that sort of thing. But we'll begin with the broad picture first. And obviously what's happening right now is we have most of our winter weather that is centered here across the central and into the southern plains. I'm going to pull out the screen just a little bit. There we go. Across the central into southern plains, right? Oklahoma, we know, is dealing with quite a bit of snow at the moment. And so there it is. You know, right now, as depicted by the HRRR, the High Resolution Rapid Refresh Model, we have most of our winter weather, snow across central into eastern Oklahoma. Now, through the next couple of hours, it'll start to creep into western Arkansas as well. And then across central Texas northern northwest Texas, we have the freezing rain that's taking place. Let's get into tomorrow morning. So this is going to be now 12Z. So as we approach daybreak tomorrow morning, Here's what to expect on Saturday morning. You have a big mess across the center of the country. That area of snow that is right now in Oklahoma and freezing rain out across parts of West Texas begins to shift eastward. So by tomorrow morning, by daybreak tomorrow morning, Arkansas is dealing with all different types of wintry precip. Across the northern half of the state, you're dealing with periods of moderate to heavy snow. Across central Arkansas and Little Rock, it's a mix of sleet and freezing rain. And across southern Arkansas, it looks like it could be all freezing rain by early tomorrow morning, again, by around daybreak or so. As we progress through the day tomorrow, again, our first little shield or area of wintry precip continues to move eastward. So here's tomorrow afternoon, Saturday afternoon. Here's what the radar could look like. And again, let's pull the screen a little bit just so you can see. We'll keep adjusting it as necessary. So again, there's what the radar could look like tomorrow afternoon. This is at, again, depends on where you are, but 2, 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Spots that are getting a break, we'll call this a lull in the activity from round number 1 out across central Oklahoma. Could be a little freezing rain still in North Texas, but generally from central to southeast Kansas, central Oklahoma, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, through about Joplin, may see a break in the snow early tomorrow afternoon, but this first area of wintry precip has shifted east now into parts of the South and the Ohio Valley, so still looking at a big mess of freezing rain across northern Mississippi tomorrow afternoon, which, by the way, we talked about northern Mississippi, could be 48 hours straight of freezing rain. You're not going to get the break that a lot of other spots are sort of allowed with this system. But by tomorrow afternoon, you can see freezing rain across northern Mississippi. Tennessee, almost the entire state, is dealing with wintry precip. In Nashville, you're between the line of sleet and snow across southern and southwestern Tennessee. It's a lot of freezing rain. And then as we work into Kentucky, you're finally getting some of the winter weather moving through tomorrow afternoon, 2, 3, 4 p.m. Spots like Louisville, Lexington, dealing with pockets of light to moderate snow, southern Illinois, Evansville, Indiana, seeing the snow into tomorrow afternoon. Here's, again, our whole, we'll call this area number 1, continues to head east by tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. It's working through parts of northern Mississippi, through much of Tennessee, through much of Kentucky, start to creep into western West Virginia as well. And it continues its eastward progression into tomorrow night. And then early Sunday morning, look at what the setup could be. This is during the pre-dawn hours on Sunday morning. You now have, again, a lot of the same spots that are going to start to see winter weather tomorrow afternoon dealing with it, and it will continue to expand east. So that means a lot of Kentucky, northern Kentucky, likely dealing with all snow. It's going to be a mix tomorrow, rather on early Sunday morning before sunrise on Sunday morning from Lexington, southern Kentucky, Somerset, dealing with likely a mix of freezing rain, sleet, and snow early Sunday morning. But check out who is now also, for the first time, starting to see wintry weather early Sunday morning. Again, before the sun rises on Sunday morning. Now we're talking about Virginia getting in on a mix of sleet and snow. The I-95 corridor, Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, dealing with snow by sunrise on Sunday morning. And you can see the snow will pick up in intensity. New York City by Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, the snow is really intense. And finally, it makes it into New England by Sunday night, early Monday morning. Boston is just getting absolutely clobbered with heavy amounts of snow. You can see it there. I apologize. I had to pull the screen, keep adjusting the screen a little bit so you can see. But again, by early Monday morning, the good news is spots across the south, spots across the central and southern plains are starting to dry out. The cold air will be there. The bad news is finally New England starts to see its brunt of very heavy snow. So that was just I know it was a really broad kind of view of what to expect here over the next, 48 hours. And again, I know there's a lot of colors on the map, and that maybe didn't answer the question about specifically where you live. I promise we're going to keep kind of going back and forth between looking at the nation as a whole and then getting down more so region by region and talking about amounts, accumulations, and timeline. With that being said, let's kind of look broad scale now for a second at how much snow is to come across the country between now and Monday. And it's going to be quite a bit. Again, I'll keep adjusting the screen for you there. I'm pulling it down a little bit. Let's see. We may need to crop this just a tiny bit. And we may need to zoom out just a little. All right. So this is the projection of how much snow is to come between now and on Monday. We'll call it Monday morning, when things finally kind of start to wrap up just a little bit for us. And it is going to be, again, a lot. You can see a lot of snow to come. Spots where you see some of these darker purple colors, that's where there could be over a foot of snow. Oklahoma, central Oklahoma, northern Oklahoma, northeast Oklahoma, and along that I-44 corridor across southwest Missouri. We know that we have snow that is ongoing right now. You're going to get a lull tomorrow afternoon and then more snow to come tomorrow night. So when it's all said and done, this is one spot that could pick up over a foot of snow. Another area that could see a foot or more of snow between now and late Sunday night, early Monday morning when things wrap up, and across northern and northwest Kentucky, southern Indiana, and southwest Ohio. So this would include spots like Cincinnati that could get up to a foot of snow. And then obviously you see the really bright purple colors here, the very highest values starting to pop up on our chart across the Northeast between now and Monday. There could be some spots, particularly, I mean, look at the I-95 corridor. Look at spots like Washington, D.C., which may be a little, Washington, D.C. could be a spot that is kind of in and out of freezing rain, sleet, and snow, as there are some indications, at least in the nation's capital, that there may be a warm nose that's trying to sneak in a little bit here. But look at spots like New York City, Hartford, Connecticut, Boston, Manchester, New Hampshire. Even into spots like Portland, Maine, could be picking up 20 to 25 inches of snow between now and Monday when this storm system finally moves off the coast. So snowfall projections across the country, few bullseyes that really stand out. One of those central to northern Oklahoma, southwest Missouri. I think this is I-44 in southwest Missouri, especially, you start going Joplin northward, totals drop off maybe a little more. But regardless, still a high snow impact event. Another spot number 2 that kind of stands out here as we look at snow totals between now and when this system finally moves offshore. It's across northern Kentucky, southern Indiana, southwest Ohio, foot or more possible. Again, big spots there would include Lexington, Cincinnati, Louisville, and then obviously our big cities across the Northeast, Boston, New York City, New England could be talking about a foot or more of snow. So that's just snow between now and Tuesday. And in between all of that, again, you see pockets where there are likely going to be 5 to 10 inches of snow. St. Louis, one of those areas. Even spots like Gary, Indiana, Northwest Indiana could be picking up 5 to 10. Columbus, Ohio, 5 to 10. Kansas City, more than likely about 4 to 7 inches of snow here. So again, just because you're not in one of these 1, 2, 3 bullseyes where we could pick up a foot or more, doesn't mean that isn't going to be an impactful snow event for you. The headlines, the attention grabbers are obviously in those 3 areas when we look at just snow, because those are the spots that could pick up a foot or more. All right, now let's look at ice and this icing event, because remember, and again, I want to set the stage for you for just a second. So let me clean up the map and let's go to our ice forecast across the country. And I just want to, again, I want to really set the stage for you about what's happening with this system and why it's so impactful, because I think a lot of times, when we look at social media, we see what's happening in terms of the forecast. But to be able to forecast these types of storm systems, you have to understand what is really going on in the atmosphere and to be able to get a good grasp on it. So let me try to break that down in a way that's easy to understand for you. There's three main players here when it comes to this really impactful storm, and then I promise we're going to look at ice totals. But obviously, player number one is going to be this Canadian area of high pressure. Very, very cold air that has been sinking south. So that sets the stage for the temperatures that are in the single digits to below zero across the Midwest, across Kansas, parts of Missouri, down into Oklahoma. So this is player number one, your very cold air that you have in place, right? And so obviously in the spots that we have the very cold air, the precipitation type that's going to fall is likely all snow. At the same time, there is a warm nose or some warmer, mild air that is coming up off the Gulf, right? And so now you have the clashing of these two air masses, the warm air, the cold air, those two kind of clashing together in this battleground type zone. Now, that's not even incorporating the fact that we have a storm system at play. So you have your two players, you have the very cold air coming down, you have mild air that's trying to override that from the Gulf, our warm nose, and then at the same time, you have an area of low pressure that's tracking across the country, a couple different disturbances, a few different waves, an upper level low as well. And so it is these three players that make this forecast go boom as to why we're dealing with so much impactful winter weather. And hopefully that makes sense. Back to our ice forecast. We looked at the snow forecast across the country. Let's take a peek now at what to expect in terms of freezing rain and ice. And what we're doing here is we're looking at the National Weather Service blend of models, which is kind of a responsible way of doing this. We're not just picking one single model run and then throwing out projections, as we're looking at the blend of models, and then I'll kind of differentiate and tell you where I think there could be a little bit of a bias in there as we look at all of this. But a cautionary tale: when you go through social media on a time like this, you're probably scrolling through your TikTok feed right now, and every post you're seeing is about this winter storm system. You're probably seeing snow maps. You're probably seeing ice maps. You're probably seeing a lot of people live streaming right now, a ton of them out there. I would caution you to make sure that they're sourcing their information responsibly, because you want to make sure you're getting your information correctly. Now, back to the ice forecast across the country. So here's what we're looking at between now and, again, when things wrap up here late Sunday into Monday, when the system finally moves offshore and into the Atlantic. A lot of ice and a few hot spots, and I'll talk about those hot spots just like we did with the snow. First of all, you look at a spot like Dallas-Fort Worth, could be talking about 1/10 of an inch, maybe a little bit more than that, of ice or so. That's going to be a really big deal. A lot of Texas, in fact, is going to be dealing with some significant ice accretion and accumulation. How about along that I-35 corridor, dropping south, spots like Austin could be talking about maybe about, 1/10 of an inch of ice, or probably a little bit less than that, at least in Austin. But west of there in the hill country, where you have a bit of elevation, that ice is going to stick. That could be a problem. Totals there could be a little bit higher. And then look at our pocket of real concern for what could be a crippling ice storm. It's across parts of the Mississippi Valley, particularly in southeastern Arkansas, northern Louisiana, much of central and into northern Mississippi, where you see almost that black color, that black streak. That is, again, where we could be talking about the potential of 1 inch to 1.5 inches of freezing rain, ice accretion that is going to be snapping power lines. It's going to be causing widespread disruptions. And so if you live in these areas, you already know this is coming. Emergency management knows it's coming, but it's still kind of insane to see here as we look at the projections, the ice projections, to come with this here, especially across northeastern Louisiana, southeast Arkansas, central northwest Mississippi. 1 inch to 1.5 inches of ice is a problem. However, I don't want that to completely take away the attention from the fact that a spot like Nashville Could be talking about, up to a tenth, maybe a little bit more than that, of ice that could be falling and taking place. Eastern Kentucky could be dealing with up to a quarter of an inch of ice. So hotspot number one is obviously here that I've circled, which is across northeastern Louisiana, central into western Mississippi. But another little hot spot could be along the spine of the Appalachian Mountains, where we could again be talking about half of an inch up to an inch of ice. And look at the ice accumulation, the accretion. It doesn't just stop, as you sometimes see as you head eastward across the lower Carolinas and into Virginia. This could go all the way to the coastline. And spots like Washington, D.C., and we'll look at the Mid-Atlantic in a bit, are going to be right in that battleground zone. Washington, D.C., by the way, is particularly hard to forecast because there is some questions about when that warm nose comes into play, if it comes into play at all, and then also, of course, what impact and what implications it's going to have on the precipitation type that falls in the nation's capital. Now, you may be wondering to yourself, okay, well, what about, up here across Oklahoma and into Indiana and Ohio and in the Northeast? Why are there no ice accumulations expected? Well, because temperatures there are so cold, all the wintry precip that's going to be falling will be taking place as all snow. So again, that's sort of the reason why. It's like, pick your poison. It's either the heavy amounts of snow or, of course, the really significant ice that's going to be taking place. And boy, oh boy, I think this is going to be a historic ice storm across northeast Louisiana, through parts of northern, northwest Mississippi, Jackson northward. Going to be having some big problems when it comes to ice with this storm system. So yeah, a lot to kind of digest there with this one. All right, 8:20 now here on the West Coast, 10:20 on our central time zones, 11:20 as we get ready to get closer to midnight on the East Coast. Let me know where you're checking in from, how your night's going, what you're doing to prepare for this potentially blockbuster storm, and then any questions that you may have as well about just this whole information overload that a lot of us have been feeling when it comes to this storm system. And, there's just been so much information. It's been hard to source it reliably, but we are doing our best. So again, good evening, everybody. Thank you for watching. For those of you who have been sticking around for watching, I appreciate it, and we're going to continue our coverage here. We're just doing a small little reset as I ask you how you guys are doing, where you're checking in from, what you're doing to prepare for the storm. I see some questions here about Joplin. We'll talk Joplin, Southwest Missouri. I can tell you right now, I think I-44 South is probably going to have the higher totals. With Joplin still 5 to 10, not out of the question, but I think you talk foot or more, you have to go out to I-44, and sort of along that corridor. Let's see. Somebody says, I'm camping in East Texas, so I'm not loving that. Yeah, that's not good news. I think ice is going to be a big problem there, so hopefully move your RV or whatever you're using to camping away from some of the trees. There's a lot of trees in East Texas too. Somebody is checking in from Yazoo, Mississippi, a spot that is expected to get a lot of ice, unfortunately. Okay, so let's do this. Let's show you what the radar is looking like right now here tonight, because our first round of winter weather is already taking place, and we have a lot of snow that's continuing to fall across central and eastern Oklahoma. I will say the back edge of round number one is now beginning to work into western Oklahoma. So say Woodward, southward are starting to see a little bit of a break in the heavier snow. OKC eastward though, I-35 eastward, still in the thick of it when it comes to the heavy amounts of snow that are taking place. This is all also working into a spot like Fort Smith now. Look at surface temperatures. They're hovering just around freezing in Fort Smith. But boy, at least according to the radar, sometimes you need ground truth, but you're getting periods of moderate to snow. This whole shield and area of moderate to heavy snow continues to head eastward. So that'll fill in here over the next couple of hours across northern parts of Arkansas, Conway northward. Not necessarily seeing heavy snow at the moment, but the snow is certainly on its way. It is snowing in Little Rock. And then notice where temperatures are hovering right around 30 degrees, right? So there's the 30-degree reading. And let me just make sure. I have to remind myself just to keep checking periodically to make sure that you can see what I'm seeing. All right, so this is west of DFW. Temperatures right around 30 degrees, hovering 30, 31. That's why we're getting the very heavy amounts of freezing rain that are taking place in this darker pink zone. Wichita Falls getting in on the heavy amounts of freezing rain. But again, the back edge of area number 1 is starting to now work through western Oklahoma. It is eventually going to work through West Texas overnight, and then a break tomorrow afternoon is likely, but still getting pockets of moderate to heavy snow here across eastern Oklahoma. McAllister, one of those spots where you're probably dealing with 1 inch to 1.5 inches snowfall rates, maybe up to 2 inches. You can see the purple that is trying to show up on the radar. That's an indication of very heavy snow. And then sort of 2 areas, at least for right now on our radar, where we have freezing rain that's taking place. And one of those is, again, west of DFW and across parts of West Texas, Abilene dealing with freezing rain, and then another area of freezing rain here across southern Arkansas, El Dorado, south of Little Rock. Little Rock is in the snow right now, but again, you can see surface temperatures there, 32, 30 degrees. That's why we have the shield of freezing rain that's taking place from El Dorado up through about Star City, Prescott, Murfreesboro, Arkansas, seeing the freezing rain. And like I said, who's up next to see the winter weather? Well, now starting to see the onset and the onslaught of wintry precip working into northwest Mississippi right now. And, this is going to be one spot, unfortunately, here across northwest Mississippi, where once the winter weather starts, and particularly the freezing rain starts, it is more than likely going to be ongoing for multiple hours straight, potentially multiple days. Again, we talked about ice accumulations in this zone, Yazoo City, spots north of Jackson that could be talking about potentially 48 hours or so of freezing rain. You're not going to be getting the break in the freezing rain that spots, say, across the central southern plains will be dealing with. If you're in Dallas and you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, temperatures are still in the middle to upper 30s, near 40 degrees. So it's going to be a little while until we start to see a transition over to winter weather. And I think the better opportunity, at least for DFW, I-35 South, Waco, Georgetown, Austin, Llano, Hill Country is going to come tomorrow night. Better potential for some freezing rain and winter weather. Look at the bitter cold, by the way, with this storm system. I mean, you have temperatures here out across the upper Midwest that are running 20 to 25 degrees below zero. And the cold is something that maybe is not talked about quite enough because we're so focused on snow and ice, but there's a lot of cold out there with this storm system for sure, 100%. It's part of the reason why we're getting these higher snowfall rates. Big picture radar here tonight as we look at the country. Heavy amounts of snow, central eastern Oklahoma, working into central into western Arkansas. It's on the way for Little Rock. It's going to pick up. Memphis is starting to see some snow. It'll pick up for you as well. Still struggling to get snow that's actually falling and reaching the ground, likely across central Kansas, Salina, eastward Kansas City. Probably not seeing a ton in the way of snow that is accumulating and reaching the ground right now. Freezing rain across central, more so West Texas, Abilene, northeastward, Dallas-Fort Worth, just dealing with plain old showers, some drizzle. Temperatures there in Dallas from the upper 30s to right around 40 degrees right now. So not yet at the point where we need to worry about some frozen precip. That may come very late tonight to tomorrow morning. Better opportunity, though, for Dallas southward along I-35 for some freezing rain, more than likely tomorrow night and on into Sunday morning. That includes Austin as well with the freezing rain potential. Where, again, these are spots in the country that don't often deal with a lot of winter weather. In Texas, in particular, they don't deal with a ton in the way of wintry weather all that often. We heard Governor Greg Abbott earlier today talking about how the power grid hopefully is more prepared this time than what we saw in 2021. You don't know for sure, but at least it's some encouraging news that there's a little more preparation as compared to what we saw back in 2021 with those devastating effects all across Texas. Other than our big swath of snow and freezing rain here across the middle of the country, the weather is quiet across the Ohio Valley tonight, and it is quiet across the Northeast. Obviously, not going to be staying that way for very much longer, with a lot of wintry precip that is on the way here for the next couple of days until Monday, really, that things will start to kind of wind down and the system moves offshore. All right, let's talk about the Ohio Valley for a second. That's one of the spots that we're expecting some trouble in terms of high snowfall rates. If you were on the stream maybe, 15, 20 minutes ago or so, I told you there was like kind of 3 bullseyes for high snow totals. One of those, central and northern Oklahoma, southwest Missouri along I-44. The other one being in the Ohio Valley, and then the third being in the Northeast. But I want to take some time and kind of focus in on what is likely ongoing or will be ongoing across the Ohio Valley. Just making sure that everything is all good with our stream so far, and that audio technical issues are not giving us any problems. Like to check that periodically. Boy, 2 below right now south of Cleveland. 10 degrees in Columbus. What is it in Chicago? 7 below right now in Chicago. It's going to be all snow in those spots for sure, obviously, because of, the very cold air in place. So Lucy said, so I'm in Yazoo. I have a store. Should I not open tomorrow or close early? I'm really on the fence. I can't tell you what to do, right? I can only give you the information as to what's to come, but I can tell you that I think that that part of Mississippi is probably going to be very much impacted by this storm system with not too hype, but crippling effects. So if it were me, I don't know that I would be going anywhere besides maybe my living room and bedroom tomorrow if I live in that part of the country, just to sort of hunker down. Okay, so let's talk here about the Ohio Valley for a second and get back over to our forecasts and what we are looking at. So here's sort of, here is a look at what's to come over the next couple of days. And keep in mind, if you're familiar with this map, then obviously out here, around here's Louisville, you have Lexington, it's right about there, Cincinnati, it's right about there, Columbus, which is going to be in there. And so just keep that in mind as we kind of go through the forecast here in the Ohio Valley. And we're also looking, we can look here at this sector view too and talk about Atlanta. I saw a comment and question about Atlanta. We can look at Atlanta. We can look at Nashville here. We can look at Memphis. So we're looking at quite a lot, but I want to focus in again just on this part of the country for a second and the forecast and what's to come. So for the rest of tonight into our early Saturday morning, things are going to be relatively quiet. Okay, so here we go. This is Now, tomorrow afternoon, you have a band or a shield, an area of moderate to heavy snow that is likely developing here across central into western Tennessee. So Nashville is seeing snow tomorrow afternoon. You have St. Louis that is likely starting to see some light snow tomorrow afternoon. However, spots like Lexington, spots like Louisville into early tomorrow afternoon. Columbus, certainly Indianapolis, still mainly dry. That area of snow in wintry weather is still out to your west and southwest. Let's keep moving forward here with our forecast. Okay, so now we're getting into tomorrow evening. And finally, we start to see some wintry weather picking up in spots like Lexington, spots like Louisville, starting to see some pockets of light to moderate snow all the way north to about Indianapolis, likely seeing some light to moderate snow tomorrow evening, dinner time. We have the snow that's starting to roll in. Remember, our surface temperatures are in the teens and 20s. So the precipitation type that falls there is going to be all snow. Boy, is it going to be a tricky forecast, though, in Nashville tomorrow evening. You're really riding the line between freezing rain, sleet, and snow that'll be across northern Tennessee. And Nashville will probably end up having a mixed bag of it all. But with that being said, let's take you into what the radar could look like late tomorrow night and into early Sunday morning. So now we have more in the way of moderate snow. Lexington, Louisville, up through Columbus, Indianapolis, continuing to see periods of moderate snow that are taking place. Spots like Nashville likely in and out of the freezing rain and the plain old rain that may be taking place. But the snow continues into early Sunday morning. And likely, we'll be putting down some pretty hefty snowfall totals. So again, snow picks up late tomorrow afternoon, into tomorrow night across the Ohio Valley, really gets going into Sunday and early Sunday afternoon, and then probably wraps up sometime on Sunday night. Let's talk totals now for a second, and total snowfall amounts. Again, here's how things could play out. You can see there's going to be a wide swath somewhere in here between about Louisville and Lexington, where we could be talking about 12 to maybe 15, 16 inches of snow potentially. And one thing I don't love about these maps is they don't give you a range. I love putting a range when we put together snowfall totals. It's nice to say, okay, between here and here. Otherwise, our minds kind of naturally focus in on one specific number. But I can say in a spot like Louisville, your range is probably anywhere from 8 to 14 inches of snow. Same with Lexington, with it starting tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, really getting going tomorrow night, continuing into Sunday, and then wrapping up for us on Sunday night. Look at Nashville, though. Nashville may see 1 to 2 inches of snow, but I think the forecast in Nashville is going to be really tricky because you're going to be riding the line through this entire event pretty much between rain, freezing rain, sleet, and snow. And so that makes the forecast especially hard. But Nashville could see 1 to 2 inches of snow. But what about total snow, what about total ice here when all is said and done? We're accounting for freezing rain, we're accounting for sleet. A spot like Nashville could see up to half of an inch of ice on the ground, which obviously, we think about the fact that there's going to be half of an inch in a spot like Nashville of ice, and then also 1 to 2 inches of snow on top of that or below that, however it plays out. The effects are going to be long lasting, and travel is going to be next to impossible in some of those spots. So just a really tough go of it, unfortunately, in some of those areas. So we continue our coverage tonight of a powerhouse winter storm that is moving across the country and bringing a lot of impacts to a lot of different areas. And thank you all for joining and for watching tonight as we watch this really intense winter storm move through. This is going to be one probably that a lot of folks remember for a pretty long time, just because of, how widespread the impacts are going to be, and how many states are impacted, and how many areas are going to be impacted. Next thing I want to do is take a peek at the Northeast for just a second, and show you what's to be expected there, particularly in southern New England, because this is one spot. Again, we talked about those 1, 2, 3 different spots that are going to be kind of hammered by the intense and heavy snowfall rates. One of them being likely central to northern Oklahoma. Another one being out across the Ohio Valley. We just talked about that. And then the third spot that may see potentially some crippling snowfall totals is going to be across the Northeast. And I think the reason why we haven't heard as much maybe about that is just sort of because, potentially a lot of the focus has been out across the Central Plains, into the south with the ice, the Ohio Valley with the snow, and then the forecast details just in the past day or two have become a little bit more clear in terms of details with regards to snow potential and timing across the Northeast. So let's look at the Northeast. We have to kind of switch away from one of our more traditional models or high resolution models, and we're going to look at the European, the 18Z. I'm not going to show you specific snow totals from the Euro. We'll look at the national blend of models for that, but I do want to at least kind of show you the forecast in terms of how things may play out. Okay, so here is now through the next, let's say, almost 24 hours. So now through tomorrow night, the weather is fine from Boston to Providence to New York City. Weather is just fine. No problems other than the fact that it is going to be extremely cold there, right? However, things kind of start to change for us a little bit as we get closer to early Sunday morning. So this is now around 7 a.m. on Sunday morning. We have light snow showers that are beginning to spread into parts of New Jersey. Eventually northward, New York City, start to see some light snow by early Sunday morning. As we get into the middle part of the day, lunchtime, early afternoon hours, the snow really quickly across the Northeast. New York City goes from light to moderate to intense. And so by 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, 1, 2, 3 p.m., we're dealing with periods of really high snowfall rates. And that's the thing. The storm here across the Northeast and in New England isn't going to last all that long, but the snowfall rates are going to be extremely heavy and super high as well. So here's 1 p.m. on Sunday, and it is snowing exceptionally hard in New York City, in the nation's capital. Further south, Washington is dealing with a mix of rain and snow, but Philadelphia is all in the snow. Boston, it looks like, by early Sunday afternoon, starts to see a little bit in the way of light snow. The heavier snow still south of Massachusetts. It's creeping into southern Connecticut. Definitely New York City is dealing with the heavy snow, it looks like, by Sunday afternoon. And then into Sunday evening, this is now at 4 p.m. on Sunday evening, very high snowfall rates taking place across most of Massachusetts, most of Connecticut, Rhode Island, all seeing very high snowfall rates, and visibility is going to be extremely low. The snow is going to be coming down quickly. Snow drifts will develop. By Sunday evening, this looks like the worst time for weather across Boston, Providence, Hartford, Springfield, Massachusetts. New York City still dealing with snow into Sunday evening, 4, 5, 6 p.m. dinner time on Sunday is dealing with periods of moderate to heavy snow coming down and accumulating really quickly as well because of that cold air that we have locked in place. As we go through Sunday night, the snow will likely continue across most of Massachusetts, especially the South Shore, south of Boston, continuing to deal with moderate to heavy snow. Look at the Cape dealing with heavy snow as well. It takes kind of a lot to get heavy snow out on the Cape. That is not going to be a problem with this event. So worst impacts for New York City up through about Boston going to be Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, Sunday night, and into early Monday morning. However, there is going to be a warm nose that kind of tries to creep in here a little bit, it looks like. By Sunday night, early Monday morning, that warm nose begins to spread in from the south, and we'll likely see, at least from New York City, a changeover from snow to rain. And in Boston, it may stay snow the entire time, but at least we're dry for Monday morning. Let's talk about accumulations here across the Northeast into New England, New York City along the I-95 corridor, because they're going to be pretty hefty. Remember, we talked about earlier just how significant the snow totals will be across the Northeast and in New England. Not that it's going to be lasting all that long, but the totals are going to be high because of the snow rates, the intensity that's coming down, and the cold air that we have in place. So here's the projections, and boy, it's a lot. New York City likely dealing with anywhere between about 5 to 10 inches of snow, likely a little closer to the 7 to 8 inch. Those totals increase dramatically as you head northward. Let's see, let me clean the screen up here for you for just a second. Okay, so look at Springfield, potentially, 11 to 16 inches of snow. Worcester likely looking at about 15 to 20. Boston likely looking at about 17 to 21 inches of snow here between when things start on Sunday afternoon and when things wrap up for us early Monday morning. So just a lot of snow to come, even for a part of the country that so often deals with winter weather. It's been a while since there's been a system that has been this impactful and this significant in New England. There's what the radar looks like tonight. A lot of snow continuing to move through central to eastern Oklahoma, western Arkansas. Again, this first area of winter weather is now pushing through the natural state, eastern Oklahoma, southwest Missouri, not really seeing much. You have to go I-44 south with this first round, at least for right now, to pick up on some of the higher totals and the higher snowfall rates. But as you work into central Kansas, Manhattan, starting to see a little bit of light snow that's headed towards Kansas City. Still dealing with freezing rain and all freezing rain across southern Arkansas, and also here across West Texas, Abilene, Midland, dealing with freezing rain as well. And so this first round will continue to spread eastward overnight. It's just now starting to get going, picking up a little bit in northwest Mississippi. Spots like Memphis are starting to likely see a little bit of flurries taking place. The heavier snow is off to your west, and it will be headed your way here overnight tonight. And again, we talked about just how significant central into western Mississippi, especially northern northwest Mississippi, is going to be. Once the ice starts there, it could possibly be ongoing for up to about 48 hours. And so that's just such a long time to be dealing with really high ice totals and accumulations. All right, so here's the plan for now. I think our stream has kind of reached its peak in terms of viewership, and it's getting late. A lot of people are probably starting to go to bed. Again, about 11 o'clock now, central, midnight on the East Coast. So we're going to wind things down. The winter weather's ongoing. The snowstorm is here. The ice is here. And unlike severe weather, with winter weather, once it starts, all you can kind of really do is sit back, watch, wait, see if the forecast verifies, hope people aren't on the road. Severe weather is a little bit different ball game. It's faster paced. Winter weather is kind of just, it's its own beast. But again, once it starts, there's not a whole lot you can do other than track it. And there's a lot more tracking to be done, and we will do that with more live streams and TikTok updates to come tomorrow, as well as on Sunday. So hopefully everybody's a safe night